Has anybody ever puked up oysters in the middle of a matinee at the Schubert Theater?
I have.
Or am I about to make history?
This is a moment. That's such an exciting act two you're gonna have.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be good.
Really moving song, and then all of a sudden, some like it not. Hi, my name's Grace Aki, and I'm meeting Kevin Del Aguila here, currently starring in Some Like It Hot. We're meeting for a dozen oysters and a dozen questions here at the Mermaid Oyster Bar in Times Square.
All right.
Dark meat.
Oh yeah.
It's good, right?
Yeah. Reminds me of the sea.
The sea. You know it so well.
The sea train, actually. The sea train is not the body of water. Mm.
Oh,
Delicious.
Oh, cool.
Ready for the first question?
Well, that was beautiful. Wait, you talked about the sea. I want to get into that. I think that anybody in their right mind knows how incredible you are in Peter and Starcatcher. And I was like, I'm flabbergasted right now to have this conversation because you are an incredible comedian, you're an incredible writer, you're an incredible performer, you're an incredible like a sparring partner on stage. Like, how did it feel to do that show on Broadway or off? Like, just in general, like your character development within that, like people still talk about space, like they still talk about.
Do they?
Yes, it's just me.
Not around me.
Yeah, oh well, unfortunate, but here we are with the oysters and I want to talk about it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, Peter and the Starcatcher. Look, I came to New York to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I, was told you're a young character actor. Nobody wants a young character actor. You're going to have a great career in 20 years.
Oof.
And so I said, well, what am I going to do for 20 years?
Yeah.
And I found little jobs here and there. I'd be kind of, the guy who did all the different characters, all the little accents, here and there. But I found myself being kind of disillusioned with it. I wasn't having fun. I was being told to do a lot of stuff. I thought it was very interpretive, not creative. I was writing at the time, and my writing career was kind of taking off. And I thought, I don't need to act anymore. I can just write. And so I had basically unofficially sort of quit acting.
Wow.
Because I wasn't enjoying it. And
well, you said I gotta wait 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. But why do that?
No.
And miraculously, I got cast in Peter and the Starcatcher, which was just kind of in my wheelhouse, where it was this little group of an ensemble, group of people, very creative, very funny, wildly intelligent and talented, and we all played different characters, did crazy accents, and they were my people. I found my home in this little group of really, really incredible people, and it just rejuvenated my love of performing, and I've never really looked back. I learned so much from them and from being in that production. So it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
I love that. Oh, have another oyster,
Yeah,
please.
time to have another one now.
Yeah, go for it. You have really owned this lane of character actors I know, but there's this lane of honesty and humanness that you bring to all of these zany characters. And so with Oaken and everything, yes, he sings this crazy Hugo song, but there's also a lot of joy there. How was it to work on that for so long with Frozen?
Yes, that was a wild experience too, because I was in kind of the first reading of it. And I thought it was just going to be kind of a table read sort of thing, but then suddenly all these bigwigs from Disney started showing up, and I was like, what's happening? They're like, Kevin, this is a big deal. People are coming to see this. And I got really nervous because I saw the bigwigs there. But as soon as I opened my mouth, they started laughing, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, things are okay. And along the journey of that, I just kept making them laugh, and it took me all the way to Broadway, but it was hilarious. At one point, they said, "Kevin, we're not going to ask you to come back." The character in the movie is this big lumberjack guy, and they said, "You're just not that, and we want to find somebody who can do that." And I said, "Okay, all right, I get it." And then suddenly they called 3 weeks later, and they said, "Kevin, what are you doing next week? We're doing a workshop, and we've looked for every big guy in the city that can do this." And Disney finally said, "We want the character to look just like Kevin." So I was like, well, you're not in this position often where Disney comes crawling back.
No one else looks like Kevin, quite like Kevin.
But, I mean, to their credit, they were like, look, Kevin makes us laugh. Kevin has the sensibility we want for this. And so it was great. It was great to have this little corner of the show to dance around with a bunch of naked Norwegians. How often do you get to do that?
Have an oyster on that.
Naked Norwegians, everybody.
Huga. Hygge. Huga. I learned that. Tough. Also, those body stocking costumes. What I need to know what was going on there. The painted on nipples for some of them.
Yeah.
Strange.
Bob Iger had one note. He said,
nipples.
No butt cracks. That was it.
Oh.
That was it. He okayed everything else.
Wow. Insane. Hope the tour is doing well. Wild. As a partner of an Olaf, I get it. So tell me, now you are currently starring in Some Like It Hot.
Yes.
Iconically at the Schubert Theater. Tell me about, because we were just talking about these kind of larger than life characters. Osgood has been burned into my brain as having one of the most iconic film lines of all time. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
I think that how did it feel as an actor say I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna do it my way? What was the process?
The process was I was asked to do the first reading of it, and I didn't go back and look at the movie again. I just sort of based it off of my memory of the guy, and all I remember is the big line at the end, and he's got this kind of simple, daffy little look on his face, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's who he is. And so I read the part that way, and they said, oh yeah, we like what you're doing. You made him much more innocent and much more kind of goofy. And I was like, well, isn't that what he's like in the movie? And they said, oh, he's kind of like a dirty old man in the movie. He's a little bit more of a lech. And I was like, oh, I didn't remember that part. So I think my faulty memory was actually very helpful in this iteration of
because you remember the part that you latched onto.
Yeah.
You're actually, I see something really beautiful here.
Yeah, and I guess my brand with Oaken and all this stuff is lovable weirdo or something like that. I mean, somebody who's just eccentric enough, but positive and happy, fun, so it's, and once again, it's this is another one that's been a complete surprise to be part of. Christian Borle, who was in Peter and the Starcatcher, is also in this, and this has been one of the greatest experiences of my life as well. So he's always around when I'm having the great experiences of my life.
Leave you alone,
I don't know. Something's up.
Something's up. Have an oyster.
Another oyster. Let's see. This one looks good.
So you do have this really beautiful moment in Act 2 that I think it's my favorite scene in the show. Sorry, everyone else. But it's this really beautiful moment that you have to talk about multiracial identity and how we can all just love each other for who they are, and how was it working through that scene? Because it's just so impactful, and I don't think anyone sees it coming. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite part, is that it's a big surprise. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the show, but my character starts off as this kind of wacky sort of, daffy kind of guy, and everybody thinks, oh, he's just sort of so kooky he can't see Daphne for who she really is. And I love the switch that he's the only one who really sees her for what she really is, even more so than she sees herself in many ways. And that kind of switch, that kind of turn, I think is just so great. And so beautiful. And as far as the identity goes, the whole show is about identity. It's about this kind of, the characters are running away from their identity literally to save their lives, and they find this new identity in the process. And so I just love the fact that they wrote Osgood as this kind of dual ethnic character, which comes out as a surprise as well. Because it plays into that theme of nobody is just one thing. Everybody's got, multi sides to themselves. And as a multi-ethnic actor and person, I am very appreciative of that.
Yeah, I was going to have another oyster. I want to talk about that more, but
okay, let's do it.
have another.
Let's do it. One more. Here we go.
Get in there. So I personally, like, as an Asian American girly who never gets seen for that, I was curious, like, your experience of, like, have you ever played a role where you actually do have those, like, multi identities? Or
This is the
first
one.
time?
This is the first
Yeah.
time. I mean, you know, I when I came to New York, it was like, he's ethnically ambiguous. That's great because we can make him Jewish, we can make him this, we can make him that. And that's a little different nowadays. And you know, depending on the show, it can come in handy or not. But this is the first time that I played a role where it's like, no, this is kind of, you know, you in a nutshell. And my mother was from England, my father was from Peru, and you know, so I grew up, you know, it was like I Love Lucy in my house. You know, my father had an accent, my mother didn't, and so I just thought, you know, that was kind of natural, and it took me a long time to realize, like, no, that's not always, you know, natural. Everybody's kind of different, and I was very self-conscious about my dual ethnicity because we didn't speak Spanish in my household because my mother didn't speak Spanish, so my father wouldn't speak Spanish, and you know, I would go visit relatives on my father's side, and it would be nothing but Spanish, and I wouldn't understand a word they were saying. And we would play Uno together, you know, and then so it was a weird kind of dichotomy that I grew up with, and I think coming to New York, you know, when people say, "What's your last name?" and I was like, "It's Spanish." They would say, "Oh, it sounds Italian," or "It sounds this," or "It sounds that," and I was like, or "I can't pronounce it," and I was like, "Well, you know, that's it. I don't know what else to tell you." You know, and some people would say, "Change your last name. Why don't you change it to something that we can pronounce or we can understand?" And I remember thinking, like, "Yeah, I could. Maybe that would be helpful." And then I remember thinking, no, that's not me. I'm the person that was given this name. This is my name. People have been mispronouncing it since I was born, and why stop now?
Yeah.
So.
I love that. Listen, I get it. It's tough. You feel such a need to conform and, like, fit, especially if you're like, well, if I'm not getting seen for this, like, how can I blah, blah, blah? And I think that you taking that stance very early, a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. So
I don't know if it was courage as much as just, you know, this is who I am, and I don't want to lose it. So, and there's the other side of it too, where, you know, people are like, "Oh, you're
what can we get you for?"
You know, or you're Latino. So we can use that to put you up for a Latino role or this, that, or the other. And you know, I'm not always that comfortable with that either, because I'm like, well, I don't present that way so much, but it's a very, very interesting position to be in.
Yeah.
Here's a little tidbit.
Yeah.
I was once asked to write the book for In the Heights by Lin-Manuel. And I said no.
You said,
Well, I said no because I was like, I don't know that world. I don't speak Spanish. I'm not really, like, immersed in this. You know.
It didn't feel right. Good for you.
Good for me. I said no to In the Heights for correct. Give me another one of these
Eat
things.
the oyster.
For
Oh
God's
my
sake.
God. Why would you do that?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right out. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's all part of the journey. So
It's all part
here
of it.
I am eating oysters with you. So it was all worth it.
Aw, thanks. I think actually, I genuinely think that there will be young people that see you in this and see themselves for the first time on stage. And that is very, I don't know, has anyone said that to you, of being like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. People have said, I'm so happy to see representation like this
Yeah.
on stage, and it's fantastic. It's empowering, and
yeah.
I love that about the show. That it doesn't hit you over the head with this stuff, but it has something to say. So it's important.
I love that. So tell me, like, with writing and working on, you know, these really fun, kooky, like, other projects. I mean, you're an award-winning writer. Like, you do this all the time. Is there anything that you have yet to write that you are excited to, or something that scares you to write that you want to tackle it?
Yeah, of course. There's
Yeah.
so many things half written on my computer that I'm like, God, I gotta finish that. I would love to finish that. Why don't I finish that? I was very happy to read that Sondheim expose about his last thing, where they said that he was such a procrastinator. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
It was very nice to read that. But yeah, of course, there's tons of things that I've started, haven't finished, want to write, want to finish. But I mean, musicals take forever, as you know. So
Yes.
that's a commitment. You really have to have a really strong idea and a really firm commitment to it. So I'm always kind of like, I like this idea. Do I love this idea? Those are the ones that you have to be.
You have to marinate on it.
Speaking of marinating.
Get in there. Get that brine. Here we are.
You chew oysters? You're just like,
People slurp and people chew.
All right.
It's up to you.
I'm going to chew this one.
Yeah, get in there.
I think I'm a slurping guy.
Yeah. Didn't feel right.
That wasn't right. No.
It's tough. So famously, you can see Kevin in Some Like It Hot right now at the Schubert Theater. Are you having the best time, the loveliest time? It's a great group of people that you're with.
It's an incredible group
Yeah.
of people. Case Nicola gets together people who are really talented, love to have fun and work hard, and all these people are all of those things in spades. It's
Yeah.
so much fun. It's
He
great.
builds families.
He does.
Every time he's done a cast, like they are all a family. They're all a group. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Well, I'm glad you're a part of the Some Like It Hot family.
I know, me too.
Kevin, everyone.